All right, thank you.
Hello and welcome to this special podcast, and it is a topic close to my heart. Of course, it's autism. As a broadcaster and podcaster, I want to know what it's like on the radio, in a radio situation and studio with autism. And today's guest can tell me he's from Matthews Hub Student Radio at Hull University and Hospital Kingstown Radio. It's my good friend. It's a good friend of mine, and it's an honour to have him on this podcast. It's John Wilding. Hello, John. Welcome along.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
That's good. How are you today?
Yeah, I'm doing all right, thank you. I've had a good walk, been a few miles, been quite good. It's a nice day. So, how are you doing?
Great, thanks. I've been in radio studios recording most of the day, so I'm ready for this.
That's good.
Are you ready to rumble in the jungle?
Yes, sir. Yes, I'm very happy to carry on.
4 questions about autistic broadcasting, if that's okay.
Yeah.
With you. Great. You ready to rumble in the jungle?
Yes. Yeah. Very much so.
That's good. Question 1. Where did you start your broadcast career in broadcasting? And did you have autism at the time? Did you have an autism diagnosis at the time?
Well, no, at the time I didn't have a diagnosis because I didn't have one till after I finished broadcasting. And maybe I don't know what difference it would have made. Could have been good, could have been bad, but I started broadcasting online originally. It was one of these websites, and I don't know if they still have them anymore, but it was a case of you sign up and you just start broadcasting over the internet, and they have they have a music license, and this would have been in about 2001 and 2, so it was before people could do their own podcasts, and it was the only way to get online and actually broadcast yourself was really through these internet radio stations that you could just sign up to. And I did an afternoon show. It was rhythm and blues and funk, and so that was a good start. Yeah, I really enjoyed that show. Unfortunately, it was a thing. I think they discontinued the station, so I wasn't able to carry on with that.
Did you know you had? Did you think you had autism at the time you were broadcasting?
I would say probably not. It was more, I always knew there was something odd about me, or at least that people treated me differently, particularly at the stations I was at. Obviously, on the internet, I was sort of managing myself, and the only sort of feedback we got was through just people emailing tips and things. But it was really the people who were running the thing were emailing the tips, but really it was more or less I was looking after myself, so it was not, it was more, that was a lot easier. But when I got to actually being in a physical station with actual people, I started to notice that I felt a bit of a sore thumb, and I think the feeling was mutual to a degree. So I think a lot of it had to do with the autism. And I did know, as I said, that felt like I was treated differently. Didn't know why. Assumed it was my weight problem and things like that. But that, now looking back, probably was the autism. That maybe there were traits and that people were afraid of or didn't understand.
Yeah, and it's difficult to understand sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think I had quite a number of traits that maybe. I mean, and also the fact I was younger then, maybe I was less experienced as well, and that didn't help. I mean, I'm a lot more conscientious now of my own differences and sort of can regulate them and mask, wear the sort of social mask a bit more easily and readily. In those days, I wasn't really, as there were a lot of things I didn't pick up on that maybe I did that were a bit different. Sort of not a very good singer, but wasn't aware of that at the time and would sing in the studio and not on air, but I think I found that quite annoying, and things like that I just didn't pick up on.
Fair enough. Question 2. How did you feel at the time of diagnosis?
Now, that's interesting because I didn't have because my diagnosis was sort of in two stages because I had an unofficial, well, two unofficial ones, and I guess a third in a way, but the two unofficial ones, the first one, I don't remember who was the first one actually, but I think it was the first one. There were two because one of them was a lady at a group I was in just came up to me and said, "Do you think you're autistic?" And I thought, well, I don't know about that, and that sort of threw me a bit, but I just took it in my stride. The other one, the second unofficial diagnosis, really sort of hurt because it was behind my back a bit. I was in a club. We'd been on a stay at a hotel, and I'd been with a group, with a big group, and I'd gone into a room and been talking to people, and I think I'd had a little drink before bed, and it was late. It was sort of about 10 at night, and I was a little bit, maybe a little giddy, and I was being a bit too free and talking about things and sort of showing my true self. And I think the others picked up on that and said, "Oh, he's an oddball or whatever." But anyhow, so I left the well. This is the point: is I left the room after I'd been giddy and talking to these people. And what happened was I saw a sign in the hallway outside this room, and I was interested, so I read it. While I was reading the poster or sign, somebody said, "Oh, he's a bit odd," and then somebody else said, "Oh, well, that's just classic autism. That is classic autism." And I thought, "Oh, right." So they're saying I overheard them. So it didn't say it to me personally, which probably would have been helpful if they had. But they sort of said, "Oh no," they said behind my back, not knowing I was there to hear them. "Oh, that's classic autism." And I think I was annoyed, and I wasn't sure why I was annoyed. If I was annoyed because they'd said it at all. But then I realised what I was really annoyed about was that they'd said it behind my back and not come to me with it, with saying, "Had you ever considered this?" Um, in actuality, obviously they were right, but it was a little bit upsetting to do for them to sort of suggest it in that way, although they didn't know I could hear. So, with regards to my official diagnosis, I upset a friend about 4 years ago, and that's when I started making the move towards getting a diagnosis or at least being assessed. And that process was, I mean, obviously I'd upset this person who was close to me, and that wasn't very nice. But I mean, out of it, the actual getting the diagnosis, it's in a way, it's a blessing and a curse because um, although it's sort of helped me come to terms with a lot of things from my past and saying, well, maybe I wasn't as bad a person as I thought I was. There's also the thing now that I don't have the confidence to do things that I would have done before I got the diagnosis because I know my shortcomings in a way. And so it can be good and bad.
Yeah. And question 3. How did it affect your broadcast career?
Well, I actually think I think if I hadn't had autism, I probably would have done a lot better. Both because I think the main thing that's holding me back, and I do sometimes stumble over my words, but I think the real thing that's holding me back is the inability to do the backstage politics, which is a huge part of show business. And I think so the inability to do that and my desire to pursue my own individualism, um, that's a problem. I know, but Kingstown, I didn't fit in very well. I didn't get on very well with my tutor there. He didn't really like me. He thought I was a bit odd, and he wanted rid of me pretty quickly. And then he did get rid of me pretty quickly. So that I didn't wasn't there very long. At Jam, I did have a good few years, to be honest. I think that was a pretty good time. But we got a new controller in, and they sort of weren't keen on me, as I guess. And I don't know if it was the content or me as a person. I think it was a bit of both. And there's just the backstage politics of it all that goes along with the show business and in general anything really. There's always this backstage stuff going on in the background which affects the product that's received by the public, unfortunately, and it was kind of difficult. I think if I, without the autism, maybe I could have been more successful, and I think it's a shame. So that's a shame. But I think on the positive side, I've always been myself and been genuine, and I think that's the good thing about autistic broadcasters. We don't because we're not going to fake it. We're not going to be phonies. That means we don't get on as well as neurotypical broadcasters, but we're probably better at it than they are. So because we're true to ourselves, and I think that's important, and that's something that shouldn't be overlooked by station controllers and producers.
Yeah, as you say, station controllers should be more understanding
Yeah,
of autism, because some station controllers, I'm not naming any names because I'm not really like that, but certain station controllers can be a bit discriminative towards other broadcasters who have autism, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I would say that's true. I think it's because we can't do the backstage. I keep saying backstage politics, but the backstage, the small talk and the sort of camaraderie backstage, and people see us maybe as aloof, but in reality, we're just kind of, well, it depends on the individual. The same with anybody with any condition, or we're all individuals with autism as well, rather than one sort of unit. But at the same time, there is a tendency, I think, for autistic people, we are generally not as good at socializing, and so that is where it becomes a problem for us in the broadcasting realm. That is the hardest part, I think, for us to do the actual broadcast itself. We're perfectly good at that. It's just the problem is that we're just not so good at the backstage stuff, and I think that's a shame that's can hold us back.
Yeah. Last question on the list. What advice would you give to broadcasters who have autism and they're starting out?
Yeah, so my advice would be that at this time, I would say start out, do your own thing. And I think it's really great that you, Ben, are doing your own thing. You've got your own website and everything going on, because it's all right to rely on other people, but you can always trust yourself. So I would say don't basically don't go to them, let them come to you. We've got the great thing about the internet and the modern technology is we have the means to put ourselves out there and show what we can do. And I think if we can do that, then people are going to start to want to involve us more. If we can go out there and prove how good we are, then that's the main part, because we're not going to get given opportunities because our faces don't fit in the backstage camaraderie. So what we have to do is go out and prove how good we are. We have to prove that and give them no choice but to take us on in a more professional setting, because we're that good. And we have to be that good to overcome our sort of social deficits, perhaps. So we have to work even harder and even better to overcome that. And the blessing of the internet is we can prove that. It gives us an outlet to prove how good we are and how good we can be. So I would say go on the internet, do your own thing, prove to everybody how good you are, and let them come to you. Don't go to them.
Give them the tenacity.
Yeah.
And if they kick you, come back swinging.
Yeah.
And don't let them bring you down, because they'll never bring you down. You need to impress them.
Yeah.
If they try and knock you back.
The cream should rise to the top. It shouldn't matter what if you're autistic or disabled in any way. or what color or creed you are, what religion you are. If you're good enough, you should be able to do the job, and you should be employable.
Yeah.
So you've got to prove, but unfortunately, if you're disabled or the wrong color, you've got to prove. You've got to work that much harder to prove yourself, and that's what we've got to do. And the internet gives us that outlet to prove ourselves. So let's go out and do it.
Yeah. As I say, my aim is to get into different broadcast organisations, break into
Yeah.
it, become one of the first autistic people on the BBC.
And that's a great goal. But okay, we're going to have to batter the door down because nobody's going to open it for us. That's the thing. So just keep on fighting on, man. That's the thing.
We will kick the doors down eventually.
That's right. It'll happen eventually.
Yep. That's the end of the interview today. Thank you very much for joining us, John.
Oh, it's been absolutely fantastic talking to you, and I'm really pleased to be a part of this project because I think you're doing a great job here.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed this autism special. Do join me again soon for another one. Thank you very much for listening, and that's a wrap.